Now this house here, you'll get it for $2 million in the United States. But in India, Africa, and the Caribbean, it might cost you maybe 100,000. Of course, um, still, it will be in their money. Let me say $40 million in Trinidad. I think the US goes 5 to 1, 5 Trinidadian dollars to $1 US. So at 250, it will come down to be 50,000. So with this house costing $2 million? Well, that was the enemy's strategy. The enemy realized that, and they had long-term plans. Some people come talking in terms of George Bush. He said that we are now going to not be so much interested in manufacturing, but we're going into information technology. So people were asking him, "What's that? Where are the jobs? What's that?" And he said, "You watch it, you're going to see. Come on." And I don't know what you're talking about because we almost get bankrupt and collapse. Um, India, in these places, they continue to maintain, cheap labor and cost of living cheap. So in other words, with all this education here we have in America, and again, you have unions, trying to, look sexy and all that. But people should be able to sit down and figure this out. That in society you have about three basic classes: the upper, the middle, and the lower. Now they say that you have lower, and upper lower, and same thing with the others. You could go on to it forever, this, that, in the lower, you have lower, all this, that, but basically three groups. And the upper class is the people with a lot of riches and power and so on. Middle class, professionals and others, and the middle class, the factory workers and the field workers and some others, including me. Um, and so, if somebody in the low class wants to become middle class, the way to get there is not to be asking for big salary increases. The ideal thing might be to invent something, get an education, start a business, run for politics, run for president or governor or something. But I find even when the society calls for a lot of businesses, people are into businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs. What happens is that each wants to be a million, and so a millionaire, so he charges a lot. Each of them have their own little overhead they factoring in. But if there was one little company out there, they'll have just one overhead, and it will be shareholders and so on, and you might be getting a cheaper price, but whatever. Um, and so folks carry things up and up and up. The minimum wage keeps going up. But if we were to say, you know what, we're not going to change it. We're going to start bringing things down 10% every year. That would be wonderful. And so you have many corporations, even making something as simple as a razor blade or something as brooms, bicycle tires, or they say bulbs. The president making millions of dollars a year. And then you have the board, they're making some more, managers making triple figures, and then the whole 9 yards. Now, the same operation in India, you find that, and I don't want to be too ridiculous, let me say the manager's salary. That'll pay everything. Salaries for everybody, factory, machinery, all that. So if you have to compete with them and only the manager's salary is what their all costs are, when you're looking at these $1 million, these boys getting on top, the board, the perks they have, the big building they have, the maintenance, all that's adding up to the product, whereas it's not happening in India or elsewhere. And so, in essence, they have a comparative advantage in producing almost anything. So we have to use the big stick and say, well, look, now we don't want you to make this, okay? Let's do that, okay? Get them some money inside and so forth. But in effect, what has happened is that the price of things have gone up. And after the Second World War, when both people started to work, you find that it's not that necessarily the product got better or anything like that, but demand and supply. People were having big bucks, and they were demanding more than the supply was. So what the guys did, change the price. And of course, some of it is real in that they have had to experience extra costs because people, it's a complex way, but they would have also started receiving higher costs for materials and employment and so forth and so on. So they carried the price. But if we maintained a low kind of level, it would still be relative, right? It would be relative in that still you have the first class. The guy might be working for say 150,000 a year. That's the first class. Second class working for maybe 100, and then the low class working like 50,000. It's still going to be first, lower, and upper class and middle class. But in real terms, we'd be very competitive because I recall in the 60s, people liked American goods, they were cheap and so on. But Asia and all those places continued the low costs and everything is good. For example, in some companies in Japan, I understand, there's no secretary to the big boy. He does his typing, he does everything. But of course, it's employment, you have a secretary. She has a secretary, or she's in charge of the secretary department and so on. Um, Also in Japan, I understand there's no preferential treatment. You come already get the parking close to the office. Here we have close to the office for the big boys and so on. And when they retire, they get a whole bunch of money again. So, in essence, if we had realized that, you're still going to be chasing the same, dollars and everything else. So let's keep things low. That house would have been costing here in America, instead of 2 million, it might be costing, say, 250,000. Only the upper class could have afforded it. 2 years' salary you could buy it, perhaps, or maybe a little more, maybe 300,000 or something like that. Because the guy 150,000, his expenses he might only be able to save maybe 30,000 a year, and so you got to pay insurance and maintenance and some other things in the house. Therefore, not all that money will be available to pay on it, so that you could say if it's 250 or 30,000, it would be like 8 to 10 years you finish paying. No, it's going to be more, maybe 20 or 25 years. See, so it has not worked for us. This big salaries and $1 million now doesn't worth anything. A lot of people millions of dollars. Long ago, when a whole island was sold for a million had some power. But that same island now might cost $1 trillion or hundreds of billions. So that I'm not sure why folks didn't use the education to understand this thing and save us all these problems. Would India still be cheaper than us? I don't know, because there's a level you can't go beneath. And then, of course, with reintroducing mass production and so forth, even the small differential, say, the upper class in India might be working for, we here like 150, they might be doing it at 75. But still, we could still outproduce them if we, do things efficiently and so forth. So there we go. Let us use our minds and just don't look at the immediate, because still, with all the salary and all the big money, poor folks still can't own any home. I'm certainly bubble. They try to own homes, but if there's a reality, you might fake, you got a big income. And if inflation had been out of control, yes, perhaps. But no, it didn't work. So I hope that we've learned from this, and we try to keep costs down and try not to cause things to spiral out of control, because it's not only going to hurt us and make things expensive, but also our competitive edge is going to be sort of blunted.